Hello and welcome to Multifamily Investing with Bob Biggins, episode number 7. This is part 2 of Boots on the Ground. This is going to be walking through the inside for the first time of your potential purchase. I went through previously walking around the outside and all the things to look for, but this next video in a series of 2 will be the inside walk, just your initial walk through with your realtor or your broker, or even if it's a for sale by owner, it's with the current owner. Now I'm going to break this up into 4 parts. We'll start at the bottom. We'll do the foundation and basement. Then we're going to do the first floor and all the first floor areas. And we're going to then do the second floor, if there is a second floor, which will be fairly redundant to the first floor. And then we'll do the attic, which some areas have it, some places have attics, some places do not. So coming into your place, walking right in, generally just look around a little bit, see how it's going to be, and then head on down to the basement. That's kind of where everything starts from. It's your indoor air quality, oftentimes it's your base, your foundation of your house. It's whether things are going to be sloping or not, whether they're going to be level, whether they're going to be plumb, whether it's kind of a musty smell, whether it's kind of a really good smell, just all the things that you'll pick up as you walk in the door. So head on down to the basement, and we'll start from the ground up there as well. The floor, the basement floor. Generally, well, but not always, generally it's going to be concrete, but there are dirt floor basements, there are rock floor basements, there's crawls, there's knee walls, there's brick foundations or basement floors. There's even brick floors as well. The big thing to be looking for there is probably cracks and levelness, I guess, flatness. Now the old properties around Western Michigan, a lot of times they had a skim coat. They would have maybe 2 inches of concrete only, and that would be the floor. And for whatever needed to be done back in those days, that was fine. But here we are later in the 2020s, and things may be sloping, so you may want to add a bottle jack here or put a cookie down and raise something up, but you got to always be sure, watch out, that could be cracking the floor beneath it because it could be thin. Even if it's good looking concrete, you got to evaluate, see how thick it is. But if you're walking down there for the first time and you see cracks and little moisture, just little, dirt on the floor, but just little beads of moisture down there, you know that obviously a little bit of water is getting through there. And depending on the asset you're buying, it could be good or bad. If it's a $100,000 asset, maybe you can look it over. If it's a $1 million asset, might not be something that you want to see. So it just, like everything in real estate, it just kind of depends. So that's the floor, but then you get into your foundation walls. And same thing, you look for cracks, you look for slopes, crumbling. What material type is it? What's good, what's bad? Block is good. Probably poured wall is the best if you're dealing with a newer property. Poured wall is probably the best, and then block. And then years ago they would do brick, sometimes 2 or 3 layers of brick on old big Victorian homes that have been turned into multifamily homes. They would have literally 3 courses of brick in there to hold everything up. So it just depends on that. It could be, again, stone, kind of the same thing as it was on the outside. Oftentimes it is on the inside. What you can see on the outside, mostly, but not always, is what you got on the inside. So then you go on to say your electrical, and that could be any number of things you need to look for. Always try to bring in a professional to take a look at that. If you have an electrician who's a friend, walk them through. If you want to pay for electrical inspection, if you think there could be problems, that's always a good thing to do. But you're going to look at wire type. The 3 main wire types are knob and tube, oldest, K&T they call it, knob and tube. And then there's 2-wire cloth, which is ungrounded. It's just 2 wires in like a tar and sheathing coating, and it's generally, I believe, 12 gauge wire for the most part. And then you've got Romex. They did have a few years where they made Romex ungrounded. That's the white wire or the yellow wire, or it's got the plastic coating on the outside. It's the most modern wire. And they did make ungrounded, I've seen that a few times, but not too terribly often. Usually when it's Romex, it's probably pretty good. And it's been done in probably the 70s, starting in like 72, 70, 71, 72, depending on what part of the country you're in. Here in Western Michigan, it's mid to late 60s to early 70s is going to be the better wire. Now, the wire's got to get terminated into something, and it's going to be a fuse box or a junction box. Fuse boxes are older. They had those threaded plug-in fuses, and or they have cartridge fuses. Usually cartridge fuses on the big bus bars, and then plug-in fuses for each individual line coming in or wire coming in. Oftentimes those are only 60 amp service. Most all breaker service is going to be 100 amp service. And nowadays it goes up to 150, 200, 300 amp service because there's such higher draws on residential properties. But in multifamily, it's probably going to be individually metered, probably 100 amp service, 70s or newer, or if the boxes have been redone, which today, most of them that I see out and about, most of them have been brought up from plug fuses to breaker boxes, which is breakers switch on and off. And now some of them, even the breakers are old and they put in new breaker boxes. They've been through 2 and 3 different breaker boxes as the technology has improved over the years. Plumbing, the next big one down in their basement. Usually basements are unfinished, so you're going to be able to see all your wiring and all your plumbing. It's pretty open generally, especially in multifamily. Unless someone put an apartment down there, which is uncommon, but it does happen. So you're going to look at there's plumbing. There's 2 types. There's your supply, which is your water coming out to you, and then there's your drain, which is your water going away into the drain system or into a drain field or a septic system. So those are the 2 drains. The 2 supplies are going to be city water system, or it's going to be a well. And as far as water, you're going to want to know your water source coming in, because oftentimes out in more of the country, rural areas, you may have city water, but you may have well water. Something you definitely want to make sure of, because there's pros and cons of each. Now your supply, older water systems are galvanized, and they are steel pipes that have a galvanized coating in them on the outside of them, and I believe on the inside of them too. I'm not positive on that. But what happens after even 20 years is the pipes get smaller and smaller and smaller and corroded, and you get less and less volume of water coming through until sometimes it just shuts off, or it's just a trickle. And that's old, sometimes 100-year-old supply lines. And then the next one that came up through the ranks was copper. Copper is very good. It's antimicrobial, so copper is probably the best as far as just a raw water source. It's the whole COVID thing. Copper was antimicrobial. People would have copper mats on their keyboards to keep their hands from getting full of germs. Same concept. And then they had what's called CPVC, which is a form of PVC, which is plastic pipe, and that's got its pros and cons. Easy to work with, very inexpensive, but can be brittle over time. Personally, I don't care for it. It can be brittle over time, but some people like them. And then what's probably the newest plumbing now is PEX, and that is red or blue generally pipe. There's PEX A and PEX B. I'm getting into the weeds here, but PEX A is a little bigger in diameter. It's thicker wall, and it's much softer. PEX A. PEX B is the older version, the more common, and that's usually what I run is PEX B, because I don't see the XA is a little more expensive. PEX B, I don't see a whole big problem in running PEX B, and it's usually the red and blue line for the hot and the cold, obviously, and they're easy. It's easy to work with. You have crimpers and you just squeeze them, and it crimps it, and you check it with a gauge ring, and I've never had a PEX leak, and I've probably done hundreds and hundreds of fittings before. Never had one leak, so the technology is outstanding. Oh, just another great technology that's newer that wasn't around even probably 20 years ago was when you run copper, you'd have to solder the copper, clean it real good, keep it dry, put the flux in there, and then put the heat to it and solder it, and you want to draw that solder all the way around there. Well, today they've got compression. I think they're hydraulic. I've never used them. And they just come in, they crimp, and these jowls come in, they just, and they just, I've heard they're terrific as well. So if somebody does plumbing work for you and they use the crimping tool, I gather that's very, very well done. And I haven't heard of those leaking much either. Then you got your drain, older, it's cast iron. Cast iron was thick. Usually it's 4-inch cast iron, maybe 6 in a huge building. But the walls are anywhere probably from 1/4 to 3/8 inch thick. It takes a long time for that to rust through, but it does. And some of these are 120 years old, and they are still working fine. They're under your buildings. They're going out to the city sewer. They're in your walls. You can see them up along running water from the commode all the way down to your main stack drain. Oftentimes is cast iron. I try to get all the cast iron out that I can because it's problematic. It rusts holes, and it's just old. If you see cast in there, it's probably at least from the 60s. 70s, they started using what's called ABS, which is black plastic, and then you've got PVC, which is more in the middle to late 70s. So ABS was 60s, late 60s, early 70s, at least in our region. I'm speaking in general terms here, but in Western Michigan. PVC is still the law of the land. That's what everyone uses now, is still PVC Schedule 40. It's the good thick stuff that can be ran underground or on top of up in your attic, or in your behind your walls, or down in your basement. That's the most common. I would say 95 or more % use Schedule 40 white PVC for drains. Now your structure. So now you look at your plumbing, electric, foundation, and basement floor, and you got to get into the structure. What's on top of your concrete or your structure? What's on top of that? It's going to be wood. Things you want to look for there is joist sizes. Joists are the things you see when you look up. Those floorboards, they go all the way across every 16 or 24 inches. Do they make sense? You look, if it's a long run and it's a 2x6, it's only 6 inches tall or 5.5 inches tall, depending on the age of the board, may not be sufficient. But if you look and it's 2x10s or 2x12s in more of a 1980s commercial or multifamily building, a 10 or 20 or 30 unit, and they're 2x12s and double 2x12s, that seems quite substantial. So you kind of look at that to see if it just makes sense, and really those floor joists, they will bow, they will camber, they look at them real good, maybe with a light, and you can see imperfections in them. They may have big knots, they may have holes, people may have ran wires and plumbing through them, people may have cut things out for duct work. You just got to look at that, because where there's an imperfection is where up on that first floor, it's going to either be spongy or there's going to be a bow or a low spot. It all starts at the basement, and all the sinking and problems happen above where you're living starts generally in that basement. So your floor joists are really something to look at there. Your main beam. Main beam is usually, most places have one main beam. Some will have 2 or 3, but most main beams are big beams, maybe an 8x8 square wooden beam all the way through the building, or it could have been even like a 10x10 or even a 12x12, and it was just a big log that had been shaved down some way, shape, or form as the main foundation in older places. Or they could be a double or triple 2x8, 2x10, or 2x12. Oftentimes plywood is cut, put in between there, because plywood is non-granular, and it doesn't like to go this way, whereas 2x, it's got all the grain going the one direction, and it may be more apt to bow. But if you put those all together and you glue and screw those together, they call what's called a glue lamination. They also make engineered wood, which is called LVLs, laminated veneer lumber, I believe, LVLs. That's extremely strong. And you might sister 2 or 3 of those together for your main beam in newer places, because I think LVLs are probably 20, 25 years old tops, I'd say. And then you've got kind of the granddaddy of all, which is steel. And I've seen C-channels, I've seen primarily the I-beams, big, long I-beams, and that way you can span long distances without a lot of jacks underneath. So The weaker your main beam is, the more jacks that you need underneath to support that and keep that level, because on a long span, even a 4 2x12s all glued together, if you're spanning, say, 16 or 20 feet, that may not be sufficient. That may need to have one post in the middle to keep it from doing a smile, because all the weight and load above pushing down year after year after year. Is it wet down there? Wet, dry, look for signs. Look for, obviously, water, but look for white hue, white efflorescence, which is the white crystals. You can find that on the walls or the floor. Is there a sump pump down there? Are there floor drains down there? Are there cracks where things are coming out? Are there puddles? And do that on the floor and the wall. So just look for moisture. Dryness is key. If you have a dry basement, especially if the weather's been terrible, if you can have a dry basement where the weather's been terrible for weeks and weeks and it's bone dry down there, that's definitely a plus in the column of that particular property, because a dry basement is oftentimes hard to come by depending on part of the country you're in. But if you find one, that's really a plus for sure. Basement windows, they little vinyl sliders, or are they metal? They got the metal kind that come out to you, just small little windows that are metal, wood framed, big wood framed with a horizontal, big tall horizontal slider in there that is big enough for an egress window. I believe the code in Michigan is 5.96 cubic feet. Don't quote me, but I think so. That's roughly 6 cubic feet or square feet. So that's going to be a window that opens 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's going to be roughly a 2 foot by 3 foot. So a human can get out of there in the event of a fire, God forbid. That's why if you have a bedroom downstairs, you have to have another access point to get out, either stairs or slider or the smallest thing to get out, and allowed to call it a bedroom as an egress window for safety reasons. Now, in the basements, you're going to have also appliances, and that's going to be not your, well, it will be appliances like washers and dryers. Is it going to be gas or electric? Water heater, gas or electric? Furnace, gas or electric? And just what condition they're in, how old are they rusty? Do they rattle? Some rattle. And that's going to be furnace and air conditioning, obviously, if there's air conditioning. And you can tell if there's air conditioning because on top of the furnace there's going to be a metal, they call it A-coil box, A-coil, cased or uncased A-coil. So if you have a cased A-coil, because uncased is you put an A-coil in there and then you build a case around it, or you buy them cased. And they sit on top of your furnace, and then you can see a condenser outside, which is the big round thing generally, or square thing that the condenser, that the hot humid air comes out in the summer. So you can tell if you have an AC and furnace either from listing, or you can look for yourself. Chimney in the basement. Chimney goes through the house. Chimney goes all the way up to the roof line. And how is it down there? Because chimneys have a lot of weight. I mean, they have a lot of weight. Is the brick all efflorescence and crystalline? Are the mortar joints just scraped out of there? And you can scrape them out with your finger almost, or if you take a knife and you scrape that and they come right out, that's some pretty rough mortar, and it could be tuck pointed. If you take your buck knife and you scratch a regular mortar joint or a good mortar joint, you're gonna do nothing but dull your knife. But if you do it in some of these older ones, then it crystalline comes out, and that's just something to know that that's certainly not what you want. And what type of material is it? And is it got a liner in it? Stainless steel liner, galvanized liner, aluminum liner, they're flexible liner. There's all kinds of different liners that make old chimneys up to code. And so you can look and see if there's a liner in there as well. Stairs, you're gonna have to go from the basement upstairs, or you're gonna have to come from outside, maybe downstairs. Depending, just look at all the stairs. And are they inside or outside? Are they well built? Are they rotted at the bottom? Look at the bottom of the stairs. And if it's a little pro trick, if you see the stairs, you can see the wood grain real deep, like it's been wet and maybe they've painted over it. That's a pretty good indication that it's had water or it's had moisture in the past, or it is a moist basement, and the water just sucks up through those stairs. And just, are they in good shape? Do they squeak? Are they again rotted? Are they built well enough? When people step on them, do they bow? Meaning the stringers are too far apart for the stair tread that is there. It could be, is it a 2x12 or 2x10, and is it this far apart, or is it only maybe 30 inches apart? So it just depends. Take a good look at it. Just know that's a thing to evaluate. Is it finished or an unfinished basement? If it's finished, does it smell good? That's key. If you start smelling just that tiny funk of mustiness, be careful, because you never know what's behind those walls. If it's drywall, if it's a drywall basement, you could have wood behind there right under the concrete, and it's rotted at the bottom, or it's waterlogged, or it's just absorbing and keeping moisture, holding moisture, or dirt. If you got a basement and then up in a couple areas, it's a crawl area. If you've got dirt up there, could have gotten wet, could be wet all the time. Heck, I've seen where there's been a toilet leak and raw sewage has been going into that dirt in the basement, and people never really realize it's been a rental. So the tenants didn't tell the landlord didn't know, and it'd been just full of sewage up there. So you just never know till you, and even get you good light, either a battery light from your toolkit, like a Ryobi or DeWalt or Milwaukee or whatever big old light you can get in there and look at everything. Real good. Lights are just really nice tools when you're trying to look at a house, especially down in the basement or under kitchen sinks, bathroom sinks, etc. And then the sill plate. The sill plate is the board it's the sill plate, and it's also the band board. When you're looking up, you get your foundation wall, and you look up and you see wood on top. And then you've got verticals coming down, which are your wall studs. And then you got your band board goes all the way around the outside. What will happen if there's water problems is that sill plate, that flat one, and then that band board that's going around the outside of that's tied in with your verticals, that'll get wet, moist over time if there's problems outside. Water's gotten to it over and over and over. And after several years, you can hit it with your knife. You can poke it with a knife, and you just stick a knife right in, or even you could pick it out with your fingers. Look at that, because those are very expensive fixes. And what will happen eventually is things will just start, side of your house will just start going down and getting shorter, because that wood is just deteriorating. Because treated wood is probably only, well, I guess treated wood's probably 50 years old now. But houses built in the 30s, they didn't have treated wood, or the 20s. And so they could have rotten sill plates and band boards. Band boards aren't treated, but the sill plate today is treated. And then your entrance, how many entrances you got? Inside, outside, or both. So now we're done as much as I can think of for the basement. Let's go up to the first floor. Walk up the stairs. First thing you think you're looking at is the flooring. Level. Is it squeaky, bouncy? Is it covered? Well, it is probably covered. But what kind of covering is it? Is it carpet? Is it LVT, which is luxury vinyl tile? LVP, luxury vinyl planking? Is it ceramic tile? Is it vinyl sheet? What type is in the kitchen? What type is in the living room? What type is wherever in the master bedroom downstairs, or whatever room you're in that main floor? What is the floor type? And is the floor spongy? I oftentimes will go up and I'll just jump up and down with my heels on a floor, and the client's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm just seeing if this is a well-built house." You can feel the whole house kind of moving if you do that. Jump up and down just a little bit. If your heels, both heels hit, bong, 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 and you can feel things moving. If you don't feel things moving, that's a good thing. That means it's a pretty solidly built house. And What that a lot oftentimes is the decking from that first floor isn't tied in real good with the floor joists as you saw in the basement. And because back in the day they didn't use glue. There was no liquid nails or PL31 back then, and they would just put the tongue and groove boards up there and maybe not get sufficient nails, or the nails rusted through or whatever. And the flooring, the decking will bounce a little bit on those verticals, and oftentimes you can fix that by just running screws in there. If you took the carpet out, for example, and just ran screws or nails in there, that would tighten the floor. They call it tightening the floor. So floor you're going to look at first. Walls, same thing. Are we cracked? Are we settling? Are walls plumb and square? Kind of look down a wall, look down each wall and see how they look. Look at the corners, the ceiling to wall transitions. Have they been recently repaired? Since it's on the market, they might have been recently repaired. And freshly painted. Those are all tall tale signs. So you got wallpaper. What kind of paint does it have? Are there water spots? Is there wallpaper that's peeling, maybe because of water? All clues for you. And then you got your appliances, your kitchen appliances. Are they included? Are they not included with the sale? And if you're dealing with a 48-unit apartment building and you have to put appliances in there, that's pretty good cost that you got to make sure that you know that some places the tenants bring in their own appliances. And if you think that you have to outfit a place with 48 sets of appliances, that'll be a six-figure endeavor. I would definitely guess. So that's something to think about. And just what's their general condition? Are they stainless? Are they painted, embossed, gas, electric? And don't be shy. Get in, open that fridge up, and snap a picture of the ID tag on the fridge, the microwave, if it's an overstove microwave, the oven. Pull the door down, take a picture, and you can go back and do a reverse lookup to say, well, in this 3-unit apartment, all the stoves are an average of 14 years old, or the refrigerators really last maybe 20 years at the most, 10 to 20 years. Maybe the refrigerators are already 24 years old. You can see they're old, but you take a picture and you can see the model number, or the model number. You look it up, reverse look it up on the internet, and you can find out how old that is, the day of production, the day it was built, by doing a reverse lookup like that. And if you want to know, just Google how to do a appliance age with the model number, and there's several sites that'll tell you how to do that. You got your counters and cabinets in the kitchen. What condition are they in? Is there evidence of water, especially under the kitchen sink? What type of cabinets are there? Are they oak? Are they pressed, prefabbed, shaker, 6-panel? What kind of cabinets are they? Are they paintable, or would they need to be replaced in a large rehab? When you're dealing with that, think about the kitchen shutoff valves too, because water is the enemy. Water is the enemy of virtually anything in a house, but under your kitchen sink is a pretty common place of water issues. And so get under there and take a look at the gooseneck and look at the drain, and wipe your hand under there and make sure that the shutoff valves, there's going to be a hot and a cold shutoff, and there may even be a dishwasher shutoff valve in there as well. And put your hand in there, make sure everything is dry, it's clamped up well. If it's galvanized, that's not good. You want it to be copper or PEX, or even CPVC, but really copper or PEX are the bell of the ball, we'll say, underneath sinks like that. So just take a good look at that, see what condition those are in. And then head on into the bathroom, and you've got your vanity, which are pretty easy to change. You can have an old vanity and change one out. You can buy one for $200-300 and a faucet for $50, and somebody can probably put it in for a couple hundred. So for $500, a vanity, a 24 or 30-inch vanity can really bring up the level of a bathroom as a rental. That is not too tough to do. But take a look at those. Your shower and tub, those are much more tricky to take out. How I do it, I've learned from the years. I used to ceramic tile, put new tub in and ceramic tile it. Anymore, I buy the tub and shower combo and just build both of those in. That way there's no leaks. They're engineered together, they go together. They're fresh, they're nice and white and clean. And I think I generally use Kohler. There's a Kohler product, I think it's Sterling. Kohler Sterling, yeah, Kohler Sterling is what I always use. They're inexpensive, they're really thick. They're a three-piece surround design. You got your back piece, your back wall piece, and then your spout piece where your shower spout comes out for tubs, for 60-inch tubs. So if it's got a bad tub, that's a little tougher to change and much more expensive. You're in the line of $3,000 to $5,000 to do one of those. If there is a shower, is there a shower curtain or is there a shower door? Shower doors are much more preferable because you close the shower door, all the water stays in. Shower curtains, people have their young kids take showers, they don't pay attention, the water goes on the side, soaks everything. If you have a shower door, all the water stays in the shower. So if you have a shower door, even on an older place, it's generally a pretty good sign that you probably don't have too much damage at the base of that tub, because that's where things will get destroyed, is the base of the tub, under the vanity, and certainly under the toilet. Toilet, relatively easy to change, inexpensive. You can buy one and bring it to a site for $100 and probably have a plumber change it for $100 or $200, maybe $100, $250. So that way you've got a brand spanking new toilet. You don't have to worry about the guts. I barely even change guts out anymore. I'll just pick the toilet up, throw it away, put a new toilet in from Lowe's or Home Depot for $100. And it's just, what happens is calcium builds up inside of the goosenecks of the toilet and you get less and less and less flow. And so less and less the solids want to go down and you get more and more clogs. And you get one big clog where all the water comes out and soaks your floor and your subfloor. That's a headache you don't want for $100 for the toilet, and then labor if you don't install it yourself. It's just money well spent to just get rid of the toilet and put a new toilet in. And then, of course, check your shutoff valves underneath. Just like your kitchen, same shutoff valves underneath there, PEX or copper or galvanized. And that's going to be for your toilet as well. Good shutoff valve. Good shutoff valves are quarter turn. They're just 1/4. They call them quarter turn ball valves. And they are probably 25, 30 years old, I'm guessing. But needle valves, which means there's a seat and a needle goes in there, those are more like 50 to 60 years old. Those are old, and they get debris caught inside of it. They don't always close all the way, and sometimes they haven't closed in so many years. You go to close them and they pop a leak, or there's a journal nut in there that you got to tighten down. If you don't know how to do that, it'll leak on you when you close it off. Whenever I see needle valves, I just take them out, put ball valves in there when I'm quarter turn ball valves when I'm doing any remodel projects in bathrooms. But if it's already got them, that's certainly a positive. And then lastly, there in the bathroom is going to be exhaust fans. That's kind of an overlooked thing. Or windows in bathrooms are good because it allows the air to flow through as you're showering. But exhaust fans are wonderful, and where they're exhausting is key too. You want it to exhaust outside. It's not allowed to exhaust up into between the floor joists. It's not allowed to exhaust into the attic. It has to exhaust outside, either up through the attic and through the gable, or it could go up through the roof even, or through just the side of your house. But it's got to exhaust outside. And so when you're looking at a place, if you go around and you don't see an exhaust outside, take a better look, because if there's exhaust fans in those bathrooms, you should see it outside. If not, they're exhausting it the improper way. What happens there is if you send all that moist air into wood, it could create mold and smelly and all kinds of indoor air quality, all kinds of problems. Next, let's go to doors. Doors, as far as entry doors, steel doors, fiberglass doors, doors coming into your building, that's called an entry door. Interior door, inside doors, 6-panel doors and 3-panel doors, those are just called interior doors. So entry doors, interior doors. Are exterior doors, are they dead bolted? Is it tempered glass? If they're older doors, they may not have tempered glass, which means somebody could put their hand right through them if they and I've seen it before where they go to close the door and somebody will put their hand right through and cut their arm. Today's doors with windows, even if they got that big window and it's got the 9 panels of glass in there, it's really one glass, but it's got dividers, plastic dividers on it. That's tempered glass. That's like your windshield of your car. Very hard to go through that glass. Even if you hit it, worst you're going to do is crack it and spider web it, but you're not going to send it all the way through and have shards go up into your arm. So evaluate to see if it's a tempered door, because most steel doors, those white steel doors that get painted, they're generally tempered. But old wooden doors and old, say, Victorians that have been converted to a 4-unit, they could be more of a dangerous and a liability for you, and definitely worth changing. And it does add significant value when you change entry doors out to steel doors. And steel doors, I mean, you can get them at big box stores for between $200 to $400, just depending on what style that you like. Windows. Normal unit's going to have probably 10 to 20 windows in it. Per code, generally, windows have to go up and stay up. And inspectors will often check that. A lot of townships have inspections every 2 years, and they check the windows, make sure they go up and they lock. Wooden windows are, we'll say, the worst. They're the oldest. I mean, they are wooden windows. If storm windows have always been on there and they've kept good and clean. There can be wood windows with counterbalances inside the walls that they go up and down really, really well. I've seen them, but generally not so much. Generally, you're going to want vinyl windows because they're newer, and now a lot of vinyl windows are getting pretty long in the tooth, and they're needing to be replaced with another set of vinyl windows. But it's something to look at. You can run through 2 or 3 of them. If they're all good, chances are most of them are going to be good. If they're all bad, chances are you're going to have to budget some window replacements. Maybe not all of them, but maybe potentially some of them. Your heat and air conditioning on the first floor. Where are your registers? Are there sufficient registers? Did somebody create an offshoot bathroom and there's no register in there, that when you're taking a shower it's going to be real cold in there or really hot in the summer? Are the cold air returns up high? That's generally, in newer construction, cold air returns are generally up high. And if you don't know the need for cold air return, that means it's just cycling the cold air in the winter and the warm air in the summer. It's just filtering it through your heating or cooling system. And so then you have electric on your main floor, and you look at your receptacles. Has it got the 3 prongs, meaning the 2 and then 1 at the bottom, or does it have just the 2? Some old ones just have the 2 prongs that's ungrounded, electrical receptacles or outlets. And are the switches the old click kind? You know you've got some pretty old stuff on your hands and very prone to be breaking. And are the lights, are the outlets, are the things sturdy? You can kind of take an outlet and kind of move it up and down, and sometimes they're loose. They're in the wall. They're not put together well at all. They're old, and they've been pulled on so many times, and they're just loose inside of the plaster wall. Maybe they've got the ears for old work, construction ears that come out, and they're not sturdy for old work boxes. And just feel them and see. And those will be some things that you can determine the condition of the electric. Plumbing, again, are there quarter turn shutoffs on your kitchen and bathroom? Drain type, are there traps? Where's the dishwasher? Pay attention where the dishwasher, where the drain comes in at, because it has to come in at a specific area of your drain to work effectively. Because that's draining all that water out in your supply. Each one should have a shutoff valve on it for your hot water, cold water under your sink base, as well as your dishwasher. And what are the drains? Are the drains PVC? Are they chrome? Some of the auxiliaries coming off your sinks could be chrome still. They do make chrome, but not very often. Most things are late gauge PVC. And then they go into either cast or galvanized or PVC drains or ABS drains when it gets into the wall. So next, we'll zip up to the second floor, walk up the stairs. The same thing goes for structural things like with the stairs and the walls. And I mean, you got to check the stairs, the hand railings, are they high enough? How's the banister? Is it of the stairs? Is it wobbly? Is it good looking? Are these things good looking? Because they're hard to sand and stain and clean. And I mean, if you've got to redo them, it's going to take some time, energy, and money to redo your hand railings, if there's spindles and all that going up to your second floor on your interior stairs. Closets. Mostly upstairs are going to be bedrooms, generally. Each one needs a closet to be considered a bedroom. It needs to have a closet. So we'll talk bedrooms and closets all at once. Bedrooms, at least in Michigan, has to be 80 square feet. If it's not 80 square feet, 8 by 10, I guess 9 by 9, has to be at least 80 square feet to be considered a bedroom, and it has to have a closet, both. See if the bedrooms are big, bedrooms are small, just all those type of things. And the closets, are there lights in the closets? No lights, pull cord lights, switch lights. Just how is it upstairs? That's where you're going to be sleeping generally, and you just want to have a good place for your residents to rest easy if they're got a 2-story or they have a single family house that potentially is being rented. And if you can, then go up in the attic. Sometimes there's an attic door you can go in and maybe go up some more stairs to the attic. Do it if you can. If you gotta bring a ladder and pull back something that's 8 feet in the ceiling, probably not gonna do that your first trip. But if there's a door, try to find that door, go up the attic and look for some things up there, because that's where a lot of things are as well, and just like the basement. So your trusses and rafters up there, trusses or rafters, what are they like? Are they solid? Are they bowing? Is the deck pushing down in the center of those rafters? Are they? Is there insulation? In Michigan, it's supposed to be R49, which is 15 to 17 inches of blown insulation. So you're going to have minimum that much insulation up there. You'll be wading through. But it's worth wading through, or at least sticking your head up there, taking your light, looking at everything up there, even taking a few pictures. Put your light up there, snap a few pictures, and so at least you can go home then and take a look and see what it's like up there in that attic. Wiring, there's usually lots of wiring in the attic. So if there's insulation or not, you're going to look and see what kind of wiring is there. Is it old knob and tube, meaning is there the round insulators up there? Because that's the hardest wire generally to get changed, is what's inside the walls and up in the attic. People do it sometimes in the basement, but not do it up above, because it's a little more expensive and tougher to do it up there. So look and see what kind of wire is up there. Knob and tube, Romex, 2-wire cloth, which we talked about. Conduit sometimes. If you got like a light and the metal conduit pipe goes up and it's an outdoor light potentially, or Greenfield, which is it's flexible steel casing with wire that runs inside. Those are all different types of wire that you would look for up in the attic, as well as in the basement. And then there's sometimes pipes up in the attic. Is it going to be, there could be copper pipes, there could be all kinds of drain pipes, there could be vent pipes. Several different pipes are up in the attic. So just, again, if you take some pictures and look at them real quick and see what is up there. Sometimes there's heating pipes. I've got a place where all my hot air or hot water lines run in the attic. And that's for my boiler, as well as for my water heater, and my cold water all runs up into the attic and in a cold attic. And I thought that's crazy. They're buried in insulation. And I talked to the plumber, and I said, the HVAC guy and plumber, and said, what the heck, this is crazy. It's random. He goes, yeah, it's probably okay, but what if you ever run out of power? You get power knocked down in the middle of winter. He said, I had one here a few miles down, and there was 101 leaks in a place just like this. Oh. Well, that year, which was last year, I bit the bullet and bought a 10 kilowatt generator, and now that generator kicks on anytime we lose power to run the boiler, the water heater, and the well pump. So it's not a huge generator, but it's enough to run those 3, because that way you can always keep the heat on to keep the attic from not freezing and bursting all those pipes. And the tenants like it too, because they still have water and they will still have hot water. So water and hot water, because the water is coming in from the well and you get hot water from the big water heater. And that was a new gas line from a 1.5 inch to a 3 inch to supply everything when they all run at the same time. So it was a very expensive endeavor, but it was good insurance, and it's definitely helped, unlike my insurance rates and that sort of thing. So I always let your insurance company know. If you do a nice capital project like that, it's totally off base, but I'm just thinking about this. I never used to, but I've learned recently, in the last 5 years, when you do nice capital improvements on your place, keep a nice list of those. A list of date, cost, contractor who did it, or yourself, self-done, or whatever. roof done at this point, soffit and fascia done at this point, generator done here, new water heater here, new furnace and air conditioner here, etc., etc., etc. And every year, send that list to your insurance person. What that insurance person will do, they will send it to the carrier, and that carrier will keep it in your file. And they'll say, well, this person is obviously keeping his place up, and they're not going to reduce your rates, especially in Michigan. Holy cow, they're outrageous. But what they will do is that will prevent them maybe from raising them anymore or raising them unnecessarily because it's getting to be an older product, or it's a converted Victorian that's a 4-unit now or a 6-unit. They're like, well, it's pretty risky. Should we drop these people? Well, they put all new electrical in, they put all new plumbing in, they put new junction boxes in. There's a new boiler there. They've replaced the driveway because driveways, for example, could be cracks and somebody could trip and fall and sue you, and which would sue the insurance company. They put new stairs on the front porch. They put a new deck on. All the stairs are level. There's correct hand railing. Just all these things insurance companies love, and it'll save you money in the long run. Just make a note, take some pictures, send it off to them, and you'll reap the benefits in the long run if you own this property, especially for a long time. It'll discourage them from raising things too far, and also keep them from dropping you, because being dropped is awful tough too. Then you're scrambling to get coverage at all. So I kind of digress from my attic, but I didn't want to lose that train of thought. And then lastly up there is your roof. Your roof from the bottom side is going to be your joists and then your decking. And then around your chimney up there, that's where they flash the roof, either with ice and water guard, and they tar, tape, and granule it all the way around, which isn't the best way. The best way is to actually do step flashing, metal step flashing or counter flashing, where it's embedded in the chimney and it goes under the shingle and comes out the side. So you step flash each shingle, and that way the water always goes down, down, down. But that's where water is going to come in generally, is around a chimney. So pay close attention. If you're up in an attic with light, go around that chimney all the way around it if you can, and see if you've got water that has wicked through in the past, or put your finger up there. Is it wet right now? Because oftentimes it's kind of lower, and you can reach up there and check that. Or is there water down the corner somewhere, or water that came in from the gable side where there's a big gable vent and some of the louvers are broke out and water's been coming in there on heavy rains. Just all the things to be looking for up there. So I know we've been we went a little long this time, but there's a lot to look at when you're walking through your potential multifamily property. I went and looked at a 14 unit several months ago, and I was pretty serious about it. My first look through this property, I'm not kidding, it was 4 hours. 4 hours. The broker was like, you're spending a lot of time here. And I was like, well, I want to be able to look at these things and really take note of what's going on here before my due diligence. Because after you check it out financially, you check it out structurally, then you start structuring a deal. You start structuring an offer of some sort. And that could be on a buy-sell agreement with a realtor, or it could be with a letter of intent with a commercial or multifamily broker. So that's the next step, is once you're happy with the finances, happy with the structures and the surrounding, then it's time to put your best foot forward and go for that deal. So this process inside and out could take a half hour, take an hour. It could sometimes take an hour and a half. When I schedule showings, oftentimes, especially when it's something that's a good sized property and it's going to be maybe a stretch for my new client, maybe a client that's newly getting into multifamily, we'll spend an hour and a half, 2 hours if they really want to. I'll spend it with them. We'll go through it, and we'll go through these things line by line and look at all these different things and point out things that are good, point out things that are bad. So they know how to structure a deal if they want to go that next step and put an offer in on a multifamily property. Thank you for spending your time with me. I realize your time is so precious, and I don't take that lightly. So I appreciate it, and Stay tuned for the next episode of Multifamily Investing with Bob Biggins. I'm Bob Biggins, signing off.